Okay. So, the secret to overcoming negative childhood interactions is this. Everyone around you when you were a child was intergalactically full of shit.
That definitely resonates.
All right. I will turn it over to you.
I mean, it definitely resonates. The first thing that I think about is my dad when you say that. Just because I mean that's his whole life is just bullshitting. I feel like he's just always been the person to promise and tell you and everything he's gonna do, and never follow through. And it works for him because he's a charismatic, good-looking guy, so it works for him, out there in the world. But when your kids are at home waiting for you to show up or to follow through with that promise and you never come through, that's it's pretty disappointing. So that's the first thing that comes to mind when you say that.
Right.
Not to mention
They didn't know when to have a kid, right?
no, obviously not.
They're 22, right?
Yeah.
And they both need to work full time, although they have free room and probably board from your grandmother, right?
Exactly.
They don't know when to have a kid. They don't know what their children want. Did they ever ask you? Did they sit you down and say, "Listen, son, you have a choice. Your mother can go to work for 40 hours a week, plus commute, plus getting ready for work. That's like 50, 55 hours a week. But in return, we'll give you a bunch of shit that you're not even going to bother to open up after Christmas." Right? So would you like your mom to be home with you and take care of you and love you and play with you, or would you like a bunch of shit that you don't even open?
When you say it like that, I mean, obviously I know it, but it just sounds so ridiculous.
It is literally insane. Like, I'm really trying to point out just how intergalactically full of shit everyone was around you when you were a kid.
It's so well put, and it's so you're right. It's so simple, but it's so well put. I mean, we can delve into it, and it gets significantly worse. But I mean, you're right. You're 100% right.
Well, because people say, "Well, I'd do anything for my kids," and my question is always, "Well, did you ask them what they want?"
Yeah. Good luck.
"I'd do anything for my customers." "Oh, here's a customer who wants to tell you what he wants. Kick him out. Shut him up. Get rid of him. He's going to interfere with me pleasing customers. If he actually tells me what customers want, that's going to put a whole wrench in the plans of me pleasing customers. Get rid of the guy. Throw him through the trap door. Catapult him through the skylight. Chloroform him. Throw him in the trunk of a car driven by Luca Brasi. Get him out of here." Right?
Yeah, I laugh, but I feel like I'm that customer.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the public school teachers, did they know anything about anything? Not really.
Oh, absolutely not. No, that was just as terrible of an experience.
Yeah, I mean, those people don't. I mean, they keep changing the curriculum,
Mm-hmm. Just as a little aside, sorry to interrupt. Yeah. As a little aside, just to kind of validate your point of elementary school, I had this crazy kid that used to I can't say bully me psychologically, phone calls, and the 7th grade made a death threat to me. His friend was going to hold a shotgun, and obviously this is a big problem. But the teacher that, when this all started, was my 6th grade teacher. And this kid was giving me a hard time in class, and I kind of yelled at the kid so he would stop and to get the teacher's attention. He paid no mind to it. This same teacher at one point in the school year was taken away by the ambulance because he passed out drunk. So this is the kind of people that you get sent away to be your supervisor, so to speak, and to, cultivate kids in a supposed good environment. It's pathetic and embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, the teachers I all had seemed to have one singular mission: to use the stun gun of infinite boredom to keep the children in line. Like, we can't act up if we're in another dimension out of boredom. So that's why the teachers are just so unbelievably dull and pedantic and inconsequential and boring.
It's funny how education can be boring, though. I mean, who doesn't get excited about learning stuff? But they figured out a way to make it the most annoying process.
Oh, man, yeah. I mean, look at this goddamn show. Most ridiculous thing on the planet. I don't grant any degrees. Your life will become enormously more difficult. Right? Exactly. Your spouse may leave you. You may have to apologize to your children. Like, I was in Detroit doing a speech, talked about circumcision. Guy comes up to me. This black lawyer guy. Huge. He's like, I wonder if you're right about that circumcision stuff, because I just told my son to get his kid circumcised, and now I'm thinking, like, holy crap. Maybe I've just, hey, welcome to philosophy. Massive dumps, dinosaur dumps of regret on every omelet in the future you get to eat.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely.
And people are thirsting for this stuff. This year we might pass 100 million downloads. No degree makes your life really bad for quite a while, and people can't get enough of it. Crazy masochistic bastards, you all.
Of course, but I mean, the people that listen to your show recognize the short-term discomfort for that long-term gain, and that's where everybody needs to get to.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about personal training. It's like, Free Domain Radio, we're a personal trainer. We will come to your house and poke you in the eye and then disappear into the night. And then we're going to take a slow pee into your cornflakes every morning and then disappear into the morning mist.
I think I have a new marketing pitch.
This is why Steph does not write the advertising copy. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, no, this is why we don't have advertising copy, because I'm not allowed to write it, but you're also not allowed to lie. So we have none. Because, right?
Sunshine,
no, tell me, don't you think, Mike? It's like, hey, I'm going to disrupt your capacity to earn a living. I'm going to disrupt your relationship with just about everyone in your life. I'm going to make it all horrible, and it's going to cost you bandwidth to download. Are you in? Yes. Say hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. I'm in. And it's crazy, but this is, right, so this is the hardest stuff for people. It's the most disruptive stuff for people. It costs people, and people can't get enough of it. Now, if I can sell knowledge with this kind of blood price, when I'm not even really selling, but if I can get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people fascinated by philosophy and downing it by the unwise quart per minute, drink from the fire hose until your ass explodes scenario, well, anyway, but you can see this, if you ever have a day to kill, right? You can run through speeches at conferences, and you can try and figure out who's the free market speaker and who is the non-free market speaker, right? Who's the academic? Who's the lawyer? Whereas who are the people who are actually making their living from speaking? And you can see that. So to make knowledge boring is not... it's a special kind of talent for stonewalled inertia. And, kids are so hungry and thirsty for knowledge that it's really quite astounding. I mean, anyway, so the whole point about your childhood is that everyone in your childhood was intergalactically full of shit, which means everything they taught you was wrong. And it wasn't the worst kind of wrong. It wasn't even the normal kind of wrong. It was, in fact, the worst kind of wrong. The normal kind of wrong is, oh, you should go down this road to get to the gas station. You go down that road for a mile or two, and you're like, shit, no gas station, guess we'll turn around, right? Mm-hmm. This is a special kind of wrong where you don't even know that it's wrong.
Like the gas station will be there, just keep going, and you never have a point of reference to say it's time to turn around. Does that make sense?
No, it's such a cunning illusion, such a cunning matrix. You go down there, right? You fill up your gas, you drive out with your GPS, and you end up on the fucking moon with no gas. It's like, how the hell did that happen? Well, the whole thing was a cunning illusion, right? Mm-hmm. The whole thing was cunningly rendered, right? Quad core SLI, right? All matrix based. You don't even know that you're wrong.
Yeah.
And so, with religion and government schools and various kinds of indoctrination, nationalism, and all that kind of crap.
Oh, absolutely.
So they're so incredibly full of shit. I mean, they're not even honest enough to teach you about the national debt. My daughter is $20,000 in debt just for this goddamn province that I live in. It's 5 times the debt per capita of California.
That's insane.
Yeah, hey, honey, I'd like to send you to school. I'm sure they're going to say, this is what they're going to say to her at school, first day. I'm not saying she's going to school, but if we send her to school, this is what they say first day. They'd say, hey, kids, great to have you here. It's this government school. Great to have you here. Wanted to mention a couple of things. Number one, please don't hit each other. That's for the union thugs to make sure that we get benefits and summers off. B, this is ridiculously inconvenient. Generally, the school starts after your parents have to be at work and ends before they leave work, but screw you. I like afternoons with a mint julep on the porch, looking out at the back 40, looking at the taxpayers toiling in the fields like whales diving up and down through waves of wheat to give me my benefits and pay. Number three, we're going to try and come off as some kind of authority for you, but the reality is that we are so screwed up financially that you all are $20,000 in debt just for this province. A good portion of that is because I'm a greedy son of a bitch who wants more pay, less work, and more benefits all the time. So we've really screwed you, and we sold off your future. So it's $20,000 now. You guys are 4 or 5. By the time you get to be like working age, it's going to be like $100,000 that you're going to be in the hole because we're greedy, entitled bastards who really don't want to compete and work for a living. So with that having been said, let me now position myself as your moral authority and tell you how you should live, because I'm so wise and virtuous, right?
Absolutely. It's sick. It's really sickening, and it's completely people being irresponsible, people being self-absorbed, everyone not thinking about, oh, my decisions actually affect others. It's just, how do I feel right now in the moment? Good, okay, keep going, keep doing it. It's pathetic.
Right. So so it's not just your parents or your teachers directly. The whole goddamn society that we live in is a massive exercise in immediate greed. Fuck the children, fuck the future, fuck the consequences. Right? I want money to bribe my constituents with right now. So I'm going to print and borrow and tax. Right? The rich are fewer, so let's fuck them to feed the majority.
Yep.
It's the whole society we live in is a massive exercise in watching a 3-year-old in a candy store, and he also has brain damage and, of course, soon diabetes, right? Our entire society is a 3-year-old in a candy store that gets really upset when real 3-year-olds seem to have no capacity to defer gratification.
It's embarrassing. That's the best I can say. It's absolutely
right. So the great liberation of all of this, right? The great liberation that comes from all of this is that nothing anyone said to you as a child was anything other than exquisite bullshit.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, once you see that, you get what philosophy offers you is horror and freedom. Horror and freedom. That's the twin poles of philosophy.
I recognize that. Definitely, I recognize that.
Like, holy shit, it's true. I live in a fucking madhouse. Like, this world is full of insane people, hypocritical people, evil people so full of shit that I can't believe everyone's eyes aren't brown, who are lecturing me on moral responsibility and the deferral of gratification. And so that's the horror that philosophy provides you. Right? It's not like the lunatics have taken over the asylum. It's that there's nothing but an asylum. And when you bring basic rational arguments to people about spanking or taxation or whatever it is, national debt being horrible and unjust, problems of democracy, the realities of female child abuse and female relationship abuse. People are just so incredibly full of shit.
No, absolutely.
They don't. Yeah, and they cover it all up, and So this is the horror of the asylum that we live in, that is so widespread that everyone thinks it's normal. Now, so you see, oh my God, I live in an asylum, and then you wander the halls and scrabble through the ductwork like Ripley, trying to figure out whether you can find anybody else who knows that it's an asylum, and then you hold them fast to your heart as best you can. But so that's the horror. That's the horror. Now, the freedom is, you got it when I first said it. What's the freedom?
Yeah. Wait, did you ask me what's the freedom? I'm sorry.
Yeah, what's the freedom that comes from that?
The freedom is that I recognize all these people are insane. I don't need to be around them, and I can stay with the people who I find actually get the bigger picture, who have clear view. You know, it's liberating to just, you have to recognize it. You can't just, if you identify, you normalize, you continue to do it and assume this is what's right, you're perpetually going to be stuck in that asylum, not realizing where you are.
That's all true, but I'm talking about the stuff in your head, because what you talked about was not problems in your relationship outside, but the problems you had with your relationship in your head, right? Mm-hmm. Like about getting things done. Everything that everyone told you about how to get shit done is insane. Yeah. Like what they said is insane, and they themselves are insane.
Absolutely. Yeah, no.
I mean, people, I get these letters like, man, how do you survive all this criticism that you get? It's like, well, if I was an artist and there was a truck flying by the highway with monkeys throwing poo at stuff, and one of those pieces of poo happened to hit my canvas, I wouldn't say, oh, shit, that must mean I'm a terrible artist. No, monkey poo throwing. That's all that people are doing. They don't have any clue what they're doing. They have no principles. All people are doing is trying to seek advantage of you by getting you to self-attack. That's all people are doing. They're pushing this button and saying, ooh, does this push self-attack? Does this push self-attack? Does this push self-attack? It's like, it's pathetic. This is why nobody calls in to really have a go at me, usually. I mean, occasionally people do if they don't know, right? That they go in and I'm like, oh, look, another monkey poo thrower. I can't take it personally. To take it personally would be an insult to monkey feces, which at least can fertilize something, right?
Oh, absolutely. I listened to one of your talks.
Yeah,
I listened to one of your talks on accepting criticism. It was really well done. Obviously, so is everything you do. But you made a very good point in which it comes from a place of empathy, where people need to understand what it is you're trying to do and get what your goals are before they can issue any type of criticism. And it really spoke to me because I've experienced that. Like, luckily now in my life, I have a very supportive girlfriend and a really great best friend. And he recently was able to kind of write me a letter in an exchange that was very critical of what I was attempting to do. But it was like the most powerful thing I've ever read, because it came from a place of concern. Like, hey, I really care about you. I don't want to see you make a mistake. This is my problem with all of that you said. Here you go, have at it. And it was like, wow, this is really critical, but I'm enjoying reading it. I've never seen that in my life before. It was always just like an insult, or like
beautiful.
It was.
Hang
it was
on
wonderful.
to that guy with a death grip.
Oh, I do.
But not around the neck. I remember this with Mike. I remember this with the interview with Mike when we first talked about working together. I grappled him with first of all, it was thighs, and then he said, "Too close. I want to be close. This is too close." Right. So hold on to him with a death grip. Neither nuts nor neck would be my suggestion from a moral and legal standpoint.
We'll go with the bear hug then.
Yeah, that's good. Let me give you a tiny example here, right? I was just thinking of this today. So there's a thread going on the message board about, when I talk about status, once statists understand that the government is evil, then they're supporting evil, right? Like, if somebody makes a moral argument, you either have to rebut it or accept it. You can't just wish it away, when they said, Steph, you have cancer. Well, I could choose to get treatment or choose not to get treatment, but I couldn't choose to not have cancer, right? I just wish it away, right? Make my choices there. I can listen to the internet and put coffee grounds up my ass and then assume I'm going to be all better, or I can go with what science says. Anyway, so I talk about, statism, the belief in the initiation of force against peaceful people who are following their conscience, right? And people get it's not funny, but it kind of is. You'll see how funny it is in a sec. So people get upset with me, like when I say, well, if your philosophy, or if philosophy defines this as evil, I'm just going to say your philosophy. I know I have problems with that, but let me just, for the sake of convenience for the moment. Mm-hmm. So someone comes up to me and says, my philosophy defines Bob as evil, right? And I said, well, you shouldn't really hang around with evil people, right? And then they say, oh, you're trying to separate me from Bob. And it's like, that's completely insane. It's your philosophy that defines him as evil. Racists are evil. Bob is in the KKK. And he enthusiastically supports the KKK. And I think racism is stone evil. It's like, well, then you probably shouldn't hang around with Bob. You cult leader, you're trying to separate me from Bob. It's like, actually, I'm just listening to the shit that you're saying and reflecting it back to you in a true manner. I just think it's so funny. I mean, libertarians define the state as evil, and they say, well, boy, support of the state is what allows it to function.